I get real involved with the little things in a portrait or with anything, and it's not because I want to be just finicky. It's it's because I'm interested in why does something look like it looks. And I'm looking at my forehead, and I'm right in the middle of painting my forehead right now. My forehead, like everybody's forehead, it's lumpy. I mean, there's all kinds of little highlights and bumps, and just from the texture of my skin laying against my skull, it's not perfectly smooth. And so, when I'm painting it, I don't want my painting to be perfectly smooth. I'll add a little bit here, I'll add a little bit there, a little change of color to imply, and I say imply because I don't want to do every little dink on my head, to imply that it's lumpy, it's not perfectly round. That's the way things are. If you're going to be a realist painter, you got to clue into those kind of things. You got to pay attention to those kind of things. Okay, back cleaning my brush, going to a little bit lighter color. I'm mixing up a few of these sort of light colors. So I want to throw in a few of those highlights that I was just talking about. Somehow or other, I got a color that's way too green. It's ugly. I'll get rid of that. I don't want to go any further with that. I'm going to go to this the white mixed with a little pink and try throwing some of that in and see how that looks. Okay. Now, all right. Okay, I'm still working that little area up there. Well, I'm going to, just to show you a dramatic sort of a change here, I'm going to change this hairline a little bit. Every time I set up to this painting, my hair changes, and so I accept the changes as I'm going, but I don't do them in a very finished nature. I only do them as I see it at the moment, and just in turpentine and very light, because I know that before this painting is finished, the hair is going to change. At some point, I will do the hair all at once, and but the point is not here. The point is now to do the hair the way I see it, because it helps me understand if my drawing is right or not. Okay? Okay, one thing that I'm going to do right now so that you can see it, this is very obviously very important. I've already basically done the accurate drawing of my left eye. Now I'm going to do my right eye. And you can watch that. Now you see, I have it's sort of there, and it's in the right spot, but I haven't defined it accurately. And when you're really working on a likeness, and I want a good likeness here, not that I'm really pleased with the sitter that I have in this case, but I want it to be right. So now I'm going to make it right. So I won't talk too much, but I'm going to draw this eye to the next level for you. Okay? Here we go. I'm going to put my glasses on for this. Now, like I say, I've basically had this thing drawn in, and it's sort of in the right spot. And by the right spot, I'm saying it might be a millimeter off here or there. At this point, I'm trying to fix that. So, I'm dipping into that real dark color. At this stage, I'm not going to show you back and forth the palette. I'm just going to tell you about it. I'm rechecking what I have on here and looking in the mirror very carefully to see how far off I am here and how far off I am there. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to define the dark areas. That's my eyelid lines and that sort of thing. Now remember, I told you in the beginning that when we're starting these kind of paintings, or any painting, your vision is very, very broad in scope. I mean, you're looking at the big picture, and it becomes more and more refined and more focused as the process continues. So that's where we are now. We're starting to get more and more focused. When I say I'm paying attention, that means that I'm going back over things which I thought were okay, and they were sort of generally okay, but I'm checking them. In my little mind's eye, I'm checking and make sure that that they're pretty good. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. Checking the relationship between the inside of my nose here, or where that shadow is there. I want to see exactly the relationship between this distance here, this where my eyeball really starts. I'm just defining this, and the eye is obviously just like so important, so it's got to be in the right spot. I'm having a hard time. Okay, for example, I can see and I feel. I haven't measured anything, but for me, so much of my measurement is done with my eye, as opposed to plumb bobbing a line on there and checking it. I want to see it accurately with my eye and make sure that I have the same feeling of what I'm looking at as when I look at my painting. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but it's all feel. That's why my process is a lot slower than some processes. But that's how I do it. I'm very, very carefully changing the size and the position of this eyeball. I'm moving it over just ever so slightly because I see it as being over a little bit farther than I had it originally. Right? I mean, that seems obvious, but that's what I'm doing. Okay. And also the highlights which I had in there in the original drawing, because I've moved my position, I moved my mirror, the highlights have changed because the lighting is coming from a little bit different place. So I have to change that. So I'm sort of I had a white spot there. That white spot isn't really there anymore. It's moved over a little bit. So I'll get to that. I very slowly work my way around until it all starts to make sense to me. It all starts to feel accurate. Again, I'm working without medium and a fairly dry brush. If there's anything on my brush, it's turpentine at this stage, but there's not much of that either. It's mainly just color. I'm dipping all the time. I'm dipping just like I showed you a minute ago into my palette. I'm going to define the middle of this eyeball here. I think this is more accurate. And as I'm doing this, I'm moving that eye a little bit further to the left, and by a little bit I mean a little bit, maybe a 1/16 of an inch.